institutional barriers to grant making in the Global South are, number one, poor governance within an organization. When an organization lacks structure, when it lacks a well-organized leadership body, then there are chances that it will be missing out on opportunities or may not be able to compete in the already very competitive space of funding. So it's important that any organization is able to have, a governing board, a senior management team, and of course a team that would be able to confidently say that this is a team that would be able to take care or ensure that this funding is spent and is channeled into the right avenues. Another way is complex procedures. Most of the opportunities come with lengthy processes, from the application process to the due diligence. It's quite intense and can be, tedious on both ends, but it's a disadvantage in most cases to organizations in the Global South because they may not have, the resources to be able to, to run the long haul. So I think it works in most cases to their disadvantage. And then something else is also the lack of skills and expertise within an organization. Most of these organizations, grassroots organizations, may not have, experienced personnel in different ways, especially technical areas like, monitoring and evaluation. So when it comes to monitoring impact, how they're able to harvest the outcomes sometimes can be a challenge because they lack that expertise. And that is critical information that as a funder or the funder would need to be able to actually see how, resources or the funds are being spent. So that again is another challenge that Global South organizations have for them to be able to get funds from funders. Then there's, donor-driven kind of development. It's always the case of who is determining development. Is it the one who gives the money, or the one who asks for the money, or the one who is actually going to be on the receiving end of, that development? So sometimes because of, over-reliance on foreign aid, organizations find themselves in a space where they lean more towards what the donor wants as opposed to what the community or the community that they are working with needs the most. And then something else also is transparency and accountability. Organizations are unable to, to give an account of their expenditure and to really also be able to back that up with, proper documentation. That again is something that lacks, and that can really erode trust and really, strain a relationship between a grant maker and a grant seeker. And then, of course, there are issues to do with compliance. A lot of the funders have, I would call it the bare minimums that any grant seeker should be able to have. For instance, you need to have maybe audited reports, you need to have past annual reports, you need to have a board of governors or a board of directors, you need to have you might need to have, certain things that funder, really thinks is important. But when you go to the ground, to these communities or to these grassroots organizations, they're unable to comply to that because maybe they do not have the ad hoc and have very localized way perhaps of managing their finances or going about their leadership, which works for them, but in most cases will not be compatible with what the international funder would want. Even though the funding pool is shrinking, there's still a chance that organizations can stay ahead and be able to attract international funding. And some of the ways that organizations can do this is by, number one, aligning your work with the SDGs. The whole world is working towards realizing the Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. So really being keen on seeing or aligning your work with these goals would make your work appealing and would easily attract funding. Whether you're addressing one goal or multiple goals, it does not matter, but it would give you an edge. Another thing is collaboration. Funders, for you to be able to attract international grants or any other grants, you must show your ability to collaborate. And this is by just showing how you are working with the community, how you're leveraging different skills, different knowledge and networks from perhaps peer organizations within the same space that you're working with government, working with the private sector, just to really be able to enrich your work and be able to even increase the effectiveness of the work that you are already doing. That will definitely go a long way. Something else is on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Um, Funders will be inclined to organizations that are committed to supporting social inequalities and even supporting minority groups, supporting vulnerable communities, for instance, children, persons living with disabilities. It could be the indigenous and minority groups. That's something that you can bring out, and that would be appealing to a funder. And then something else is in terms of innovation and creativity. Um, Funders are keen on seeing some freshness in the projects that you are pitching. Funders are keen on seeing new ideas or new ways of doing things, how you're perhaps going to integrate technology into your work if that's possible. They want to see in your implementation plan, what are the innovations that you are proposing that are uniquely different or that would be able to have some significant impact in the community. And then, of course, there's the aspect of localization. Um, Donors want to see that you are working in close collaboration with the community, that the projects you are pitching are not your projects, but the projects that will be able, or initiatives that will be able to support the community. There is a strong ownership of the community and participation, so that as you're doing this work, you are getting support from all quarters. And even in the long run, without this funding, and this is where sustainability comes in, without this funding, it's something that the community will still be able to support and own and take it to the next level. And this is one of the ways of really having long-term impact when you work with communities.